Welcome, everyone, to Cronkite Sports Live. Spencer Hardenbergh here, joined alongside Rob Werner. And Rob, it is your first time anchoring the show, and I don't think you could have picked a better week to anchor after that ASU football performance against Utah.
Yeah, Spencer, it's almost like Arizona State knew that it needed to deliver a sparkling performance, so it would be the story instead of me today.
That was it.
But wild time in the Pac-12 South. We'll have more on that later on in the show, but let's see how the Sun Devils were able to beat the 16th-ranked Utah Utes. So the Utes coming into Sun Devil Stadium after having won 4 straight games. Some highlights for you. First one we got is Eno Benjamin. Eno saying, "I go for 6." Carrying for the 6-yard touchdown run early on. First quarter, and ASU's up 7-0. And after an Ashari Crosswell interception later on, Manny Wilkins here finds N'Keal Harry for the touchdown strike. ASU was up 14-0 at that point. Utah, though, not going down early as Zach Moss carries right here for the 1-yard touchdown, one of the best running backs in the Pac-12 right there. Soon after, Tyler Huntley with this pass to Samson Nakua for the touchdown. That tied the game up at 14. And then just before halftime, Manny Wilkins connects here again with N'Keal Harry, this time for a 23-yard touchdown. And you see here, Harry is shaken up a little bit on the play. Obviously, that worried Arizona State fans. Harry would be all right, though, and he would have a big impact in this game. That guy moved his wedding for this. Thank God he got to see a good football game. Here to start the fourth quarter, Manny Wilkins to N'Keal Harry, 61-yard catch and run. Big hit by Kyle Williams, clearing space for Harry, and then the stretch for the end zone, 61 yards all the way for N'Keal Harry. And then Eno Benjamin putting a bow on this one, 44-yard touchdown run. That would seal it for the Sun Devils as they go on to win this game 38-20. You see the Sun Devils pumped up on the sideline as they win this game and now have complete control of their destiny.
I think that guy who changed his wedding was a real winner, but let's not talk weddings, let's talk more football. And to do that, we welcome in WCSN football reporter Harley Yearout. Harley, thanks for being here today.
Yeah, thanks for having me on, Spencer.
Now, ASU put up 38 points against this Utah defense. It's one of the better groups in the entire country. What did they do so well? Yeah,
you mentioned one of the better groups in the entire country. Utah came into the game with the 7th best total defense in the nation, and ASU really had their way with them, putting up 536 yards on the afternoon. We'll talk about the arm of Manny Wilkins, 285 yards and 3 touchdowns on the day. 161 of those yards went to N'Keal Harry, who caught all 3 of Wilkins' touchdowns, and then Eno Benjamin, he had himself a day as well, 175 yards on the ground and 2 touchdowns of his own. I think the storyline here was really the balance. Manny Wilkins threw 24 pass attempts, and Eno Benjamin had 27 rushing attempts, giving that ASU offense a real nice spark to knock off the 15th-ranked Utah Utes.
You mentioned balance. That is something that they have been lacking this entire season. They definitely found it on Saturday. Now, moving on to next week, the Sun Devils will host UCLA, and the Bruins have had a very rough season so far. What is important to know about Chip Kelly's group?
I think the biggest thing to look at here is that UCLA started off really slow with this series of pretty much blowout losses, and they started playing well against Washington. They played one of the better teams in the Pac-12 close there. You see that 24-31 score, and then they beat Cal in convincing fashion in Arizona as well by just a point. And you look at ASU, they've been in every game this season thus far. I think the biggest thing to know about this UCLA squad is they allow 438 yards per game. And ASU, seeing their 536 yards last week, could capitalize on a strong offensive showing going forward.
Now, every game for the rest of the season for these guys is a must-win, the biggest game of the season, as they have to win out to make the Pac-12 championship. Do you think they can pull it off, Harley?
I think they can. It's going to be extremely difficult. This week, obviously, they have UCLA, which could be considered a bit of a trap game just to get into bowl eligibility simply. And then if they knock that team off, they have to go to Eugene and Autzen Stadium to face the Oregon Ducks. And then we always know down south, things get crazy in these rivalry games here in Tempe and down south, and ASU will have to knock them off too in the Wildcats to secure the Pac-12 South title. It can be difficult, but seeing as this defense is playing well and this offense has gotten rolling lately, it can be done, Spencer.
Should be a win for the Sun Devils, but they definitely got to be careful. Harley, you're out. Best in the biz. Thanks for joining.
After a magical 12-0 conference run that led ASU basketball to number 3 ranking in the nation last season and an eventual NCAA tournament appearance, expectations are high for Bobby Hurley in his 4th year with the program. The Sun Devils began their season inside Wells Fargo Arena against an underrated Cal State Fullerton team that earned an NCAA tournament appearance last season. Usually in a season opener, you'd expect a Pac-12 team to schedule a cupcake opponent. But with the Titans coming to Tempe, it was a close game that included 13 lead changes, which ASU eventually took control of in the second overtime. There's plenty of excitement and maybe even some worry in Tempe, but with a young team, Alex Gall reports on how ASU secured the close victory.
Might have been election day for everyone else, but at the bank, well, it was basketball time. But as the new season got underway with a matchup against Cal State Fullerton, Bobby Hurley's squad looked much different than last season's memorable Guard U. The new faces proved to have some opening game jitters as ASU missed their first 9 shots before redshirt sophomore Romello White got the Sun Devils on the board. The teams would trade blows in the first half, with Kamani Lawrence draining back-to-back three-pointers to put the Devils up 6 just past the midway point. But Kyle Allman kept the Titans close, sinking 2 in a row in the final minutes of the half. Allman would finish with a game-high 33 points on 12 of 25 shooting from the field.
The degree of difficulty on their pull-up shots and, the plays that they made, both Allman and Ahmad are, high-end players.
ASU held a slim 3-point lead at halftime, but had a number of chances to put the Titans away for good following the break. The Devils went up at least 6 points 3 separate times in the second half. However, CSF pulled it back every time, taking the lead with under 3 minutes to go on a bucket from Allman. Not to be denied, ASU clawed their way back, sinking 4 free throws inside of 30 seconds and forcing a bad shot at the buzzer to send the game into overtime. Kamani Lawrence had a chance to win it at the end of the first overtime, but his shot rimmed out, forcing a second overtime period. Then, however, it was Lou Gent's Dort's time to shine. Dort scored 9 points in the 2 overtime periods, including this dagger and one that put ASU up by 6 with 2 minutes to play. ASU closed out the game from there, winning 102-94 behind the freshman Dort's 28 points.
I think I did good at the first half. I wasn't foul trouble a little bit, so I had to step out a little bit. And then, but at the second half, I think we, as a whole team, I think we did a great job.
Dort was instrumental to ASU's offense in the latter stages of this game, scoring all but 2 of his 28 points in the second half or later.
Yeah, I mean, you just see his physical talent and his shiftiness off the dribble, and then he's a finisher. And in a ball screen, he's very hard to deal with when he gets downhill and gets to that back line.
ASU stays at home this weekend to face McNeese State Friday at 7 p.m. at Wells Fargo Arena. In Tempe, Alex Gall, Cronkite Sports.
Last week, Arizona State men's hockey reached a historic milestone, upsetting number 6 Penn State in an overtime thriller. It was their first win against a top 10 team in the program's history. And for more, we bring in WCSN hockey reporter Michael Gutnick. Michael, as I just mentioned, they upset Penn State. What stood out? What did they do right in that game to secure the victory?
Well, these were 2 very explosive offenses.
And you have to give credit to the Sun Devils. They hung around with one of the best teams in the country. Now, going into the third period in both games, the Sun Devils had a lead. Now, despite falling in the first game, they were able to bounce back, in the Johnny Walker's heroics in overtime gave them the happy flight that sent them home from Happy Valley.
Now, you mentioned Johnny Walker. The guy's just been unreal this season. What has he meant to this team?
Oh, Johnny Walker, he's been the light for this Sun Devils offense. He's carried, you pass him the puck, he's going to find the back of the net. You look at the stats he's put up this year, 11 goals. He leads the country in that department, as well as his 17 points and 6 power play markers as well. He is the guy you're going to pass the puck to, and he has that Alexander Ovechkin role that he can just find him in the right circle, and he'll definitely lead the way for the Sun Devils.
Well, the Sun Devils are going to need him to be on his game for the next series against Michigan State. What do you expect out of this series, and what do they need to do to take down the Spartans?
Well, I think the Sun Devils are going to have to focus on 2 things: consistency and discipline. Now, in that series against Penn State, they had depth going down as on display. Looking at the freshmen that have fit in the top 6, they have been a nice complement for the juniors and seniors that have a little bit of the weight off of their offensive production. Now, you look at Dylan Holman, he's got a 5-game goal streak heading into this series. Huge for him. And Crossan, of course, has had a big year as well. The other thing is discipline. Against that Nittany Lions, they only had 6 penalties, and that's huge for this program that's taken so many penalties in games prior to this last game. So I think that if these 2 things in mind, I think they'll be able to take down Michigan State this weekend.
Michael Gutnick, hopefully we'll have you back on after that Michigan State series. Thanks for being here. Now, the Kobe Shaq Lakers, the Yankees at the turn of the millennium, the Bulls in the 90s, the Arizona State Triathlon team. Throughout the history of sports, many teams do win championships. What separates the 4 teams I just mentioned is that they all won 3 championships in a row in their respective sports. Troy Tauscher was there last Sunday when the Sun Devils took home their 3rd straight title.
Thanks, Spencer. After picking up their third consecutive national championship, Arizona State Triathlon is looking to maintain its success while expanding the number of major schools that host a Division I triathlon program. When Arizona State Triathlon first got off the ground 3 years ago, head coach Cliff English set a high bar for what the program could accomplish. After picking up a third consecutive national championship on Sunday, it's clear that English's team has more than hit the mark he set.
He's the one who set the expectations. It was a startup sport for us, and I said, I just want to go out and be competitive and be a good role model for what we can do. And he said, no, we're going to put together a championship team, and we're going to do it quickly. So I took him at his word for it, and he hadn't let us down, has he?
The Sun Devils finished even stronger than they have in previous years, sweeping the top 5 and placing all 7 competitors in the top 10.
Unbelievable, your top 4 so far, all from Arizona State University.
Sophomore Hannah Henry stood out among the talented Sun Devil squad, improving on her time from 2017 by 1 second and capturing her second consecutive first-place finish. With such a talented group, ASU's athletes know they have to both help each other and push each other in order to be successful.
You just tell, like, okay, everyone kind of had their own little mission. And yeah, when you see that out there today, you know, they were racing, working with each other, but obviously they're also competing against each other. And that's just an environment this year with this team. They've just they respect each other, but they push each other.
As ASU continues its run of success, the program is looking to be a model for other Power 5 schools about the benefits of a triathlon program. Not only can the sport create a direct pipeline to the Olympics, but fielding a team is relatively inexpensive compared to other sports.
It's also a somewhat simple sport because all you got to do is have a place to run, have a place to swim, and people will help you with bikes figure it out. So it's exciting, and I think it's going to grow and emerge and be a varsity sport a lot sooner than folks maybe anticipated.
The motto of Arizona State Triathlon is Ignite the Fork. After this three-peat, it's clear the fork is not only ignited, it's burning brighter than ever. From the CSL studio, Troy Tauscher, Cronkite Sports.
Disappointment hit Tempe this week as Sun Devil women's soccer had a very eventful week, to say the least. The Graham Winkworth-led team was left out of the NCAA tournament after consecutive losses to rival Arizona and defending national champion Stanford. It would have been the team's first appearance in the tournament since 2014. With me now to break it all down is Cronkite Sports analyst Colin Thompson. And Colin, while there's no shame in losing the top-ranked team in the country in Stanford, this game against U of A was very winnable for ASU. Why didn't they pull that game out?
The first 10 to 15 minutes of this game, ASU just didn't have it in them. They gave up a corner kick a minute into the game, another one a minute after that, and they just kept going from there. A goal in 6 minutes, and they just never got their focus back on it. They had chances. They had 3 shots on target, just like Arizona did. They had 9 shots total. But after those first few minutes, they just had nothing more in the tank in terms of goals. You see the stats on the board. It was pretty close. They had opportunities, but they just didn't have enough. It was a rivalry game, the Territorial Cup, a chance to go and possibly clinch a tournament berth, but that early goal meant that they just didn't have it in them.
So the early goal really did them in that first game, but the Sun Devils have had a lot of important contributions this season from newcomers such as forwards freshman Nicole Douglas and senior transfer Casey Martinez. How have those two helped the Sun Devils this season?
Well, Nicole Douglas came in from England, a huge recruit for Graham Winkworth, who's also English, and she lit it up. 9 goals this year, the Sun Devils' leading scorer, and she was just all over the place. We saw her scoring at the start of the year, scoring at the end of the year. She really was a huge presence for them. Casey Martinez, on the other hand, a grad transfer from Duke. She hadn't even played in a year due to a knee injury, but she came in, 2 goals, 3 assists, pretty good numbers for being out on the wing all year, and she gave them leadership, she gave them an edge, and she's a very good player. We're expecting her to go and enter the NWSL college draft next year. She gave them that leadership they needed, some tournament experience. Even though they didn't make the tournament in the end, Casey was that leading voice in the locker room on a young team.
And with a positive winning season like this one for the Sun Devils, how can this help recruiting for Graham Winkworth and company?
Well, Arizona State, they already had 18 recruits come in last year. A lot of those redshirted, and 2 new recruits this year for 2019 that'll be even bigger. Nicole Soto is a name to watch. She was, currently is, with Mexico at the U17 Women's World Cup down in Uruguay. She's a very good defender. They're going to be losing some experience there on the back line. She'll be able to bring some there. And then they've also got Kiki Stewart coming in, who's probably their best American recruit in a decade, perhaps. 4 stars out of Utah. She's a midfielder. She can play on the wing. She can play inside. She's very skilled. When she committed, she said she liked the way the Arizona State midfield played. I'd expect her to come in, perhaps even start from day one.
So Colin Thompson has the latest on Sun Devils women's soccer. Colin, thanks very much for your time. And if you want to check out more of Colin's work, head over to cronkitesports.com.
Now let's talk more basketball, but this time let's talk women. They have been good for quite a while now, but they haven't been good enough to be a real contender. They're certainly off to a good start this season after dismantling Incarnate Word by a score of 81-43. Emmy Keenan was at the game with more on that.
The buzz is back in Tempe as basketball returns to the Wells Fargo Arena. The ASU women's team took on Incarnate Word for their season opener. Despite their first victory of the season over the San Antonio team by 38 points, the Sun Devils still treat this home opener as a loss.
We didn't feel like we worked hard enough. We didn't feel like, we were the hardest working team for every minute of that game.
The Devils' defense did stay consistent from the start, only allowing the Cardinals to put 20 points on the board for the entirety of the first half, keeping the score in the Sun Devils' favor. However, the offensive side showed less. Redshirt senior Courtney Ekmark began the game going 0-4 for three-pointers before finding her sweet spot on the court.
I was just really excited to start, and I kept telling myself to relax. Hit one, felt really good, and then hit a couple more, so that's always a good sign.
Ranked number 23, the Sun Devils are expected to go far in conference play and hoping to do the same for the NCAA tournament.
We have really high standards this year. We always have high standards, but we want to be an elite team. We're training to be an elite team. So when we don't meet that, we're going to just really look at it and we're going to see, okay, then what do we need to do? And that's how we're looking at this game.
ASU's field goal percentage was 44.6%, nearly double the Cardinals, and ultimately led them to their first victory of 81-43. Reporting from Tempe, I'm Emmy Keenan for Cronkite Sports.
Now from hoops over to tweets, let's dive into the world of Sun Devil social media. Our tour guide on that journey will be social media expert Jacob Rudnick. Jacob, thanks for being here today.
Thanks for having me, guys. How you guys doing today?
Very excited.
We're doing good. What do you have for us today, Jacob?
Well, we're going to look a lot at the tweets from the Twitter universe of sports, and that's actually going to start with none other than UNC basketball, not to be confused with University of North Carolina.
Okay.
University of Northern Colorado comes up with a brand new idea.
They're a powerhouse. Really.
With the distraction curtain.
Oh, brother.
New concept, not to be confused with the curtain of distraction from the 942 crew here at Arizona State University. Brand new. What do you guys think of this innovative concept?
That can't be allowed.
Well, I mean, you need to find some student journalists or something that can try to crack this case, but that doesn't look great.
No,
well,
yeah.
They could easily think of some new innovative brand, new non-copied ideas if they put Michael Phelps behind the curtain or Archie Bradley in a Santa Claus costume.
Never seen anything.
ASU's never done that.
Stuff,
yeah. Never happened. Moving on to our second tweet, we have the Sun Devil source crew at Sun Devil Stadium, and none other than, there he is, big man, Rob Werner, down in the bottom left over there. Interception over there at Sun Devil Stadium. What do you guys like? There it is. There's Rob.
What interception did you have the other day, Rob?
I don't even remember. I have interceptions every day, basically.
Okay.
So this was one of them. This was a pick six.
Well, Doug Tamara picked off that tweet and said that it is easily the most unathletic group photo in an end zone in football history. Rob, how does that make you feel?
I really don't appreciate that. First of all, I'll have you know, I'm the most athletic 5'6" guy you've ever seen. Probably not, but I'm not the most unathletic 5'6" guy you've ever seen.
Yeah,
Big picks for little men.
That Jack Harris is surprisingly nimble. All right, he'll get you.
Well, moving on to our final tweet of the day, we have none other than Doug Haller, quoting Herm Edwards from the ASU Basketball, saying that, quote, they got that one kid. What's his name? Lugens Dort is who he was talking about. He looks like a strong safety. We got to get him out there in the spring. Lugens Dort, a football player. What do you guys think of that?
I don't think Bobby Hurley's going to like this too much. I don't think so.
All I'm going to say, ASU had 3 steals the other day, and Dort had all of them.
You never know.
He can cover some ground.
Rob making interceptions. Lugens Dort might be able to do it too, according to Herm. Definitely a lot to look at on the ASU Twitterverse.
So Jacob, great job as always. The Arizona State softball program is still in a state of disbelief following the decisions to transfer from 2 of the team's best players. ASU will be without starting pitcher and presumed ace G. Juarez and first baseman Danielle Gibson after they each posted on social media saying they would not be returning to the program last week. Both posted messages on their Twitter accounts thanking friends, family, and fans for supporting them through their time in Tempe. Last season, Juarez posted a 1.22 ERA with 305 strikeouts, while Gibson led the team in home runs as a freshman. Both were Pac-12 first-team honorees.
The Sun Devils' victory over Utah sure makes the battle for the Pac-12 South very interesting. We'll send it to Alex Rodier, who has an in-depth look at how that battle could shape up.
Thanks, guys. As the season winds down, ASU controls their own path to Levi Stadium and the Pac-12 championship, a place they haven't been to since 2013. However, this is by no means an easy task. ASU must win all 3 games outright to claim the South. Following Saturday's game, ASU will have to defeat Oregon and U of A on the road. Arizona faces number 8 Washington State in 2 weeks, and winning that game would place the Wildcats at 5-3, the same record the Sun Devils could have if they beat both UCLA and Oregon. A winner-take-all territorial cup is just one of many improbable outcomes that could happen now. Another weird scenario is that every Pac-12 South team could end up 4-5 in conference play. The current standings have Utah leading the division at 4-3. If the Utes lose to both Oregon and Colorado, they'll end up 4-5, with their last game being against non-conference BYU. Currently in second is Arizona, also at 4-3. On bye this week, they would need to lose their next 2 games in order to reach the 4-5 mark. In third currently is USC, again at 4-3. Losses against both the Cal Bears and UCLA Bruins would set them at 4-5 going into a final matchup against Notre Dame. Next is ASU, sitting at 3-3. If the Sun Devils were to lose to both UCLA and Oregon, then to beat the Wildcats in Tucson, they would finish at that 4-5 mark. In fifth is Colorado, currently in 2-4 in conference play. The Buffaloes would need to win against Utah on the road on November 17th and beat either Washington State or Cal while losing to the other team in order to reach 4-5. Finally, in last place, the UCLA Bruins would need to win their next 2 games against ASU and USC respectively before losing to Stanford to make themselves 4-5. A possible 6-way tie with only 3 weeks left in the regular season showcases the quality, or lack thereof, of the Pac-12 South.
Now it's time for my favorite segment on this show, in which we honor a great journalist in Walter Cronkite with his signature catchphrase, "The way it is." How the segment works, we each ask each other 3 questions, give our answers, and see who our producer in the studio, Troy, thinks deserves to rant. All right, so Spencer, let's get right into it. ASU football has won 2 games in a row. The team hasn't had a 3-game win streak this season. Sun Devils taking on UCLA at home on Senior Day. They're big favorites. Does ASU get this one done?
I think they do in a big fashion. I think they win by at least 21 against the Bruins.
Okay, I think that this is kind of a trap game for Arizona State. I think they do win it, but I think it's going to be a closer game than most people expect.
Now let's talk college basketball. It is the beginning of it, and it's like Christmas for us. We have 2 promising teams on Arizona State's campus, and my question to you is, which team will win more games this season?
I'm giving it with a woman. Charlie Turner-Thorne's squad is fierce this year. They demolished Incarnate Word in their season opener. I think they're going to have a great season.
Yeah, I think the women too. I think they're just a more complete team than the men are this year, and I think it'll be a big year for the women.
Yeah, and many fans feel that ASU men's hockey was snubbed after not being included in the latest Division I rankings after defeating a top 10 ranked team in Penn State once last weekend. But now the Devils are back home and they're taking on another Big Ten team in Michigan State. How will this ASU team do?
You know, for the record, Rob, I think they should have been ranked as well. I think it was a big win over Penn State. And I'm really in between them sweeping or splitting. I'm going to go with the safe bet. I'm going to go they split.
I'm going to go with what Michael Gutnick told us. I think they're going to sweep this weekend. I think they're feeling very good coming off of a good win against the Penn State team. It's one of the best in the nation. I'm looking for ASU to sweep this weekend.
You know, he's an excellent analyst. I do not blame you, Rob.
So now we're going to see who our producer Troy feels delivered the best answers and deserves to win this edition.
I think I sweep this one.
Oh, I don't know. I feel pretty good on my first time.
I easily went 3 for 3. Oh, okay.
Oh, there we go. Okay.
Beginner's luck. Okay.
First time's a charm, I guess. Look, I get it. ASU football has momentum after winning back-to-back games and being in the mix for a Pac-12 South title. And Sun Devil basketball is back with a loaded men's team led by newcomers Lou Gensdort, Rob Edwards, and returning spark-plug Remy Martin. But let's take a moment to step away from 2 of the more popular teams on campus to give credit where credit is due. Sun Devil women's soccer has gone from the team ranked 142nd in the country in RPI with just 5 wins in 2017 to one with 10 wins and a final RPI of 40 this year. Somehow, the team wasn't selected to appear in the NCAA tournament. 64 teams make the event, and while it was surprising ASU didn't hear its name called on Selection Monday, let's not pump the brakes on this team. In 1 year, the team jumped over 100 spots in RPI. Did ASU deserve to play in the NCAA tournament for the first time since 2014? Probably. But does that mean that this season was a loss? Not at all. The program made outstanding progress under Coach Graham Winkworth, and I'd be shocked if next year's team doesn't build off this season's success and continue to grow, and that's the way it is.
Couldn't have said it better myself, Rob. Let's roll top plays, and let's stick with women's soccer here. Gemma Perfield, the things that she has done for this program cannot be put into words. Look at this strike. From outside the box, it is her last goal in an Arizona State uniform. And let's look at it again, slow motion. Absolutely outstanding shot, one of many for her as a Sun Devil, and the program will definitely miss her.
Great shot by Perfield there. Here's another shot. This time it's ASU men's hockey. Johnny Walker, he's leading the nation in goals scored, and guess what he's doing right here? Scoring a goal. This proved to be the game winner against Penn State. ASU getting the big win on the road against the Nittany Lions.
Johnny Walker keeps on walking, now number 1. We know that this was not the game against Utah. We realize that. But how could we not show this catch from N'Keal Harry? Oh my goodness. One of the more outstanding catches you will ever see. And Rob, do you think this is, let's do this. NCAA football, NFL this season. Do you think this is the best catch so far?
I think it's football? This is the best catch I've seen all season for sure. Hands down. I couldn't believe that he held on to this football.
The guy's not human. The guy's not human.
He's certainly not. That's going to do it for this edition, though, of Cronkite Sports Live. Thanks very much for tuning in. For Spencer Hardenbergh, I'm Rob Werner. Same time, same place next week. We hope you join us then.